Survive from Scrappy Mania, and today I'm going to show you how to create a flan de queso. This is a traditional dessert. It's a flan. It's traditional to Puerto Rico, and every New Year's or Christmas, this is the dessert that we have. We have a flan de queso, which is basically like it's a custard made out of cheese, and it's cream cheese. So I'm going to show you how to do it. You're going to need some kind of Pyrex bowl. And this is so we can put the sugar, put some water, and create the caramel. And then we're going to put the flan in here and put it in the oven. So you're going to need something like that. You're going to need a can of evaporated milk and a can of sweetened condensed milk. 1 can. It's very simple to do. You're going to need a teaspoon and a half of vanilla. I like mine with a little more vanilla, so I put a teaspoon and a half. You're going to need 1 package of cream cheese. And you're going to need 5 eggs. And that's pretty much it. And a blender. You're going to need a blender. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create the caramel. So you're going to take about, I like mine with a lot of caramel, so I put like 3/4. Like 3/4. I mean, it's not exact. So I put like 3/4 of sugar, of regular sugar. Then I'm going to take a little bit of water, like a 1/4 cup of water. Again, it's not exact. Just enough water to kind of dilute the sugar. As you can see here. And it's just to dilute it a little bit. Then you're going to put this in the microwave. Now there's a version that they do, that my grandmother used to do it on the stove. But now that we have this is way back, like in the 80s, when we really didn't have microwaves. So, so now that we have microwave, I used the microwave to create my caramel. So let's go over to the microwave, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay, so you're gonna put it in the microwave, and then we're gonna go ahead. Let me close the door. Now, usually I start with 10 minutes, so I will go ahead and put it for, let's say 6 minutes, because you don't want to burn the caramel. It's very important that you don't burn it. So let's go ahead and put 6 minutes and hit the start button at a power, 100% power. So after 6 minutes, when it goes off, we'll look at the caramel, make sure that it has like a nice brown color. And it all burn kind of like an amber brown color. You don't want it very dark, and you don't want to burn the caramel, because the caramel burns very easy. So you really have to keep an eye on it before we proceed with making the custard. Okay, so it's done. 6 minutes have passed, and let's go ahead and look at the caramel. And as you can see, the caramel, it's bubbly, but it's still not the color that I want. So I'm going to put it for another, let's say 3 minutes. At this point, you really have to be careful you don't burn it. So I'm going to go ahead and close the microwave. And I'm going to put it for another 3 minutes. And we're just going to leave it for 3 more minutes, keeping an eye on our caramel to make sure it doesn't burn, and we'll be back to see how it looks. Okay, I was keeping an eye on the caramel, and right now I stopped it at 1.5 minutes into it, into 3 minute mark, because see the color of it. Let me bring it down here. That's the color that we want. Actually a little lighter than that, but that will be fine. That's the color that I want my caramel. So you have to be very careful. Be very careful with the caramel. It's extremely hot, and you got to be careful that you don't burn it. This dark amber color is good. Actually a little lighter would have been a little better, but it's almost to the point of burn. You still can use it, but for like 3/4 of a cup of sugar with like a 1/4 cup of water, it looks like it only takes 7 minutes in order to create the caramel. Okay, so now that we have the caramel, I'm going to let it cool down, and I'm swirling it because I don't want it to get any darker, so I'm swirling it to kind of help it cool off. Okay, and let's go back to the table and let's go ahead and put the ingredients together to create the custard. Okay, so you need a blender, so I got my blender ready, and also make sure you preheat the oven. So while I was creating the caramel, I turned on my oven. I'm preheating it at 350. So now we're gonna create the custard. So you'll need your cream cheese, and it doesn't have to be warm or anything, it could be cold. So I took it out of the refrigerator and just gonna plop it in there. So you take a whole package of cream cheese, and this is 8-ounce cream cheese. Just throw it in there. Then you're gonna take your 5 eggs and you're gonna throw that in there. Your vanilla. Then you're gonna take your condensed milk, your sweetened condensed milk, and you're gonna throw that in here as well. Now my grandmother used to add like a cup of sugar, but I don't add the cup of sugar. I see that it's actually sweet enough with 1 can of condensed milk. If you want it sweeter, you can add some sugar in it, but I think it's just a little too extreme because you also have the sweet caramel and a whole can of condensed milk. I think it's good enough. And then the whole can of evaporated milk. You put that in there. Now you're gonna bring your blender over and you're gonna put it in the blender. So let me make sure you can see that. Okay. So I'm gonna put my lid on, and then I'm gonna go ahead and blend it on high. Make sure it blends. And that's pretty much it. You just mainly want everything to blend. Let's bring it over and see everything is nice and blended. So now I'm gonna bring my caramel over, and you're gonna need another pan. Now this is called baño de Maria. I'm not sure how you call it, the English term. I mean, it's you put a pan with water, and then you put the custard on top of that, and the custard needs a cover, aluminum cover. So in my, you put the custard in here, the caramel. Then you're gonna take your mixture and you're gonna pour it in. Let me just make sure you can see what I'm doing. Okay, just pour it in. Let me bring it over. Okay, perfect. Now you're gonna take some water and you're gonna put it's a water bath. That's what they call it. And I'm gonna need a little more water, so let me get more water here in a second. And just put some more. Kind of halfway to the pan, as you can see there, it's kind of halfway, or a little less than halfway. Now you're going to take some aluminum, because you need to cover this up. And then I'm going to cover it up. You can see here. I'm going to take you over to the oven and let's put it in. Okay, so my oven is nice and preheated at 350. You're going to slide this in the middle of the rack. As you can see there, I'm in the middle of my oven. And then you're going to close it. And then we're going to put the timer. Go ahead and put the timer for 1 hour. Let me go ahead and do that again. So we're going to put the timer for 1 hour, and then after an hour, we'll test it to see if it's done, and we might need to leave it for another 10 minutes. But you do not want to overcook the flan or the custard, because if you overcook it, the texture comes out a little more grainier. You want a nice, smooth, creamy texture of your flan, not a grainy kind of texture. So we'll be back in an hour. Okay, so my hour has been done. So now let's look and see if our flan is ready to come out of the oven. So bring the camera over. And let me go ahead and pull it out. Okay. So here's the flan, and what you're going to do is you're going to uncover it and see if it's done. And you see how it wiggles? It wiggles a little too much. That's telling me that it is not done yet. So, because it's just, it wiggles. And if I put a toothpick in the middle, it just, see how it's kind of wet? So that's telling me it's not done. So we're going to put it back in the oven. So I am just going to increase the time. Let's put it for probably 15 more minutes. So I have it for 15 more minutes, and I'll be back, and let's see, and hopefully it'll be done by then. Okay, so 15 minutes have passed. I'm going to turn off the timer, and then let's go ahead and look and see how our flan is looking. Okay, so we're going to open this up. There's still a little more wiggle in there, but let's go ahead and test it out with a toothpick. And you don't want it completely clean, but you don't want it, it is too wet, as you can see there. So, put this back on. And let's put it for another, I'm just going to put it for 10 minutes. So we're going to do another 10 minutes. And you got to be very careful not to overdo it. That's why I'm doing 10 minutes, 15 minutes at a time, because you really don't want to overcook your flan. So I'll be back in 10 more minutes, and we'll check, and hopefully that'll be it for it, and it should be done. So we are done. So now let's go ahead and look and see. Hopefully it is done now. Okay, so I'm going to bring this out. And I believe it's done. There's a little wiggle, but not as much as before. We're going to put, and okay, it looks like it's done. We don't want it undercooked, but we don't want it overcooked. You do want a little bit of give, a little bit of wiggle, like you see there. Okay, so there, our flan is done. It took an hour and 20 minutes on this type of pan. Usually I use a different one. That's why I usually it takes me an hour and 15 minutes with the Korean pans, but I didn't have that right now because I had others. I was using it for something else. So this is the first time I used this pan, which is a little thicker, or this casserole, which is a little thicker. If you use aluminum, it does take just 1 hour in a thinner aluminum. But there you have it. So now the next thing you need to do is let this cool off. You're going to put it in the refrigerator overnight. Okay, so the flan is cool enough to touch. And now I'm going to put it in the refrigerator. So the first thing I'm going to do is loosen it up. And then wiggle it, make sure it's nice and loose. Then I'm going to take, where I'm going to place it, I'm going to put it in this plate. So I'm going to put the plate on top of the flan, like you see there. And then I'm going to turn it over. Then pull the plate up. And there's my flan. So it didn't come out completely perfect. Not sure, but it's good enough. It'll taste good. Then the rest of the caramel on top. And see how this is kind of hard caramel. What you need to do is soak this for at least a day and it will dissolve, and then you can clean the pot. Now, and then the last thing you're going to do is you're going to put, I usually like to put a cover on mine. So I'm going to put my cover. And then I'm going to place this in the refrigerator, and tomorrow, for at least overnight, and then tomorrow, actually I'm going to let it cool a little more. See how the steam is? I'm going to let it cool a little more, and then tomorrow it will taste a lot better the next day when it's nice and cold. So I hope you like this tutorial and try making your own flan. I guarantee that you're going to like it. Thank you for watching. Bye.